right out of the gate started talking about self-love and the relationship you're in with yourself. And for the person who maybe doesn't understand what that means, or who may see that as kind of like a woo-woo kind of thing that's out there, will you help that person to understand what that
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
looks like,
Absolutely.
means, and feels like?
I think it's so important that we all, elders, must do our job with our young people. We must begin to explain to them the importance of love and what it means. We shy away from wanting to talk to our young kids, and we can't do that. We can't let them go in the streets and get blinded and get run over by life. But when you sit back and you talk to them and you tell them how much and what love really means, and we all have our own definitions of what love means. For me, love means God, means religion, it means freedom, it means being carefree, it means loving someone else, breaking it down to do a clear science that love is everything. We can do nothing without love.
No good thing without love.
Yes, about love.
Yeah.
Because the bad things won't show up if you know all the good things. It's like knowing the difference in right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see the domestic violence, and the domestic violence doesn't just come from uh, the man's point of view, it comes from the woman's point of view too. And we have to begin to sit down and communicate. We must put these silly things that I have in my hand, which is a phone, away and stop texting. If there's a problem in the house, sketch out the time that you want to sit back with your partner and with your children and talk about it. If you got a problem in school or on the job, delivery, it's not what you say, it's how you say. And delivery is everything, how you go to deliver. You don't have to go around hating, disliking, being uncomfortable when you can have a conversation. And also, you can apologize for the error that you have made and ask someone to forgive you. And you got to be a forgiving soul. If you look, I used to hand out imaginary maturity pills in a big glass of water, and I used to give it to my clients. I said, "There's like, Angelo, what are you doing?" I said, "It's an imaginary maturity pill. And you see that water over there? Swallow the pill and swallow the water and grow up.
I may
You got to
borrow
grow
that.
up." And it's not always your way.
Yeah.
It's a compromise
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
I wanted them to feel loved. I tell people every day that I'm romantically in love with Angelo Ellerbee.
Mm.
And because I love me, I want other people to love themselves and to grow to understand and respect that four-letter word, love. It means a lot. As a child, my mom, from age 5 to 15, used to knock on my door every morning. And she would say to me, "How was my last born? Did I tell you that I love you today?" And I said, "Mom, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. No, you didn't tell me that you love me, but I know that you do." But what she gave to me was so authentic, and it gave me passion.
Mm.
It gave me motivation to want to be something. My mother always told me that I was going to be great. But she said, "I'm not going to settle for great. I want you to be greater. But at the end of the day, I want you to be the greatest at what you wanted to do, what you want to do in life. And I want you to be a contributor. I don't want you just to lay back. I want you to lead." I did not birth someone that was going to follow. I birthed a leader. And I want you to walk in the path of leadership. And I want you to lead people and tell people the greatness of God. And so this book is written so that that we would give everybody a chance. It should be no judgment. It should be no separations. It should be no prejudice. It should be unity. I always said the old slogan went, "It takes a village to raise a child." Then I asked the question, so what does it take to raise a culture? What does it take to raise a community? It takes togetherness, cohesiveness. It takes love, dedication for us to come together, particularly in this time, in this crisis. And I do look at where we're at in this particular time of the exchange of presidents, that we're in a crisis, particularly people, Black and brown people, I believe. And I believe the only way that we're going to come together and be together, that we are one. Many years ago, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke very much about unity and what Black folk, brown folk needed to do. They needed to secure their surroundings. He spoke about ownership, having your own butter, your own eggs, your own milk, your own cleaners, your own stores. I don't know. I think we were whitewashed with the fact of people saying that he was a racist. He wasn't a racist. What he was a contributor to a culture, wanting the best for the culture. So this book is, it could be about the industry, but it's not.
Do something different. If you're in a lane that you don't want to be in, then you got to do something different in order to get somewhere different.
Exactly.
So you are very well versed in crisis management. And you, at the top of this conversation, talked about the crises that we're in this country right now.
Yes.
And if you can, what is it about crisis management, the practice of crisis management, that a layperson can do to help to be able to function on a day-to-day basis?
I always say go back to the scene of the accident. Mm-hmm. People say, Angelo, what do you mean by that? Let's start out by telling the truth. Again, the truth is not on strike. Don't come to me with no lies. Tell me the truth. And then we can resolve your situation. And that means you have to go back and remember how this accident occurred. And as it occurred, you need to deliver it back to me the same way. Now, let's have conversation about that. Do you believe you were right or wrong? If you believe that you were right, then okay, let's talk about that. Now, here's my side of it. As you go to tell me this, I see a lot of wrong in there. Let me point out to you your wrongs. Let's correct your wrongs. And then what we find is, we don't find an instant resolve, but we find a resolve that slowly but surely gets there. I don't drink instant coffee. I drink brewed coffee because it takes a time for me to smell it, for the granules to be grated and the cream to be put there and the brown sugar. I like brewed coffee. I want nothing that's instant. And it's the same thing when you start talking about damage control. I've dealt with more damage control in my life than I think than if I've ever been a publicist, because so many people come to me to resolve their problems. And I say, let's go back to the scene of the accident. That wasn't the case of Michael Jackson. That wasn't the case of DMX. It goes on and on and on and on. And we have to talk about, how do we resolve this? How do we deal with this? And it's over several sit downs with me where I'm very open and very candid, and they're very open and very candid with me, and we wind up resolving the problem, and they see they're wrong. And if they don't see they're wrong, let's correct what you don't see to make it right.
I often look at what's happening out there in the world, the macro issues. And in some cases, it is, some crises with a celebrity that needs to be resolved and handled, or it's politics or whatever it is that's going on. And I really believe that a lot of these situations are there and that we can leverage them to help us to understand how to operate in a micro environment, in our micro culture.